Hello, everybody, and welcome to another installment of Aftermath Hours, the weekly podcast of Aftermath.site, a worker-owned, reader-supported website about video games, the internet, and everything that comes after. Aftermath is for the moment fully reader-supported, so if you like what you hear, you can subscribe on the site. There's a big button about it. If you don't have a ton of money right now, which many of us do not, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a review of the show on Apple, Spotify, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. I am Nathan Grayson, and today I'm joined by Chris Person.
Hey guys, what's going on? I think it's been a minute.
And Riley McLeod.
Hello, it's also been a minute.
Yeah. Wow. It's the old school lineup, the classic. You can't beat it. In any case, today we are going to be talking about, as we often do, things that are very depressing. Specifically in this case, to start, AI, which we talk about frequently, but I think has been really in the headlines this week as a result of a handful of different occurrences that all seem to have taken place at the same time. We ran two pieces today, or if you're listening to the show later on Thursday, about kind of AI related issues. One by Gita about how the left does not hate technology, instead we hate being exploited. Because there is a big blue sky kerfuffle about this one essay that was really stupid. We'll get into it. And then Chris also ran a piece that, again, the headline says it all. I'm tired of these useless jackasses making the computer more expensive, about the kind of RAM crisis that is happening around AI.
Everything. So, it's everything. I wish it was just RAM. If it was RAM, I would not be as pissed off as I am, but we will get into that.
Yep. And then after that, we're going to move into another thing that I feel like is related, which is prediction markets. So a bunch of fun stuff about our current dystopia and how it is, we're all in a giant toilet and we keep getting closer and closer to the drain. So I think we should start with probably just the kind of broader topic of, the left and technology and AI. For those who didn't see it, there was this terrible, stupid, really awful essay that was making the rounds on Blue Sky this week about that posited basically that the left, by kind of being opposed to AI, is missing the boat on the big technology of our era, and that conservatives have they're all aboard, and therefore like leftists are being stupid, which of course is really, really dumb.
It's fucking annoying. Sorry, it's annoying to me personally too, because I understand the technology and you can't pull that shit on me. I fucking know I know how to run models and I know how to do that, and it's like it's not a question of like all of these pieces try to fight on the grounds of well, the technology isn't always stupid. And I will concede that a lot of people I know kind of struggle with this because they're like, okay, Claude got like agentic AI got slightly better, like significantly better, I will say, at like producing a kind of code that still doesn't behave correctly. It will still functionally hallucinate because, again, language is not thought. You can have like thought without language. You can, like nonverbal language. This is just a fundamental flaw of LLMs. But like, even outside of that, it tries to there's this desperation, like this need of vindication that all of these things have, where it's like it's not enough that they use it and that they're really excited about it. They need you to also admit that, and none of them want to deal with the externalities of this. Matt Brunig also had a couple of pieces because he vibe coded a book, and I think that's fucking stupid. I'm sorry. I think that is, you should not be using Claude to do legal analysis. You shouldn't have it do legal analysis that is a summary of a Claude thing. I don't care how good you are at Markdown. That's a bad idea for somebody who is ostensibly a labor activist, like somebody who's doing stuff for like legal review for this stuff. Like people with spreadsheet brain. People with spreadsheet brain who do not want to examine the externalities.
Well,
there was another article, I think last week maybe, or earlier this week also, that I think kicked this off, that was about, the thing that's happening. I think it's called something like that, about, and it was another one of these breathless, like, people don't get how good this is, you have to sort of believe in it thing. And I had written about that a couple of years ago, even back with the Marquise Brownlee car, the AI pin thing way back when, where I think we saw the exact same kind of these people who are into it, exhorting you to get on the hype train. And I think you know, I feel like, as I say all the time, like we saw this with crypto and we saw this with NFTs, and like at least in those instances I kind of understood, like, you need me to get into NFTs because you need to sell your NFTs to me, so the logic of getting me into it made sense. But this, I'm just like, as I think other people have written about, I don't know that personal adoption of AI is going to get it where it needs to go. So like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like you
Well,
said, I think, I don't know why
they
you need me to be part of this. Like,
they love getting mad when you bring up either of those things
yeah.
because it does a magic trick better. You know what I mean? Like, because like you know, like it has to be different this time fundamentally because it is structurally does have use cases. Like, you know, you can use it for like rough whatever. I don't even fucking care enough to talk about that shit because that's like 3 years ago arguments. You know what I mean? Like, because it has marginal utility, the example of Bitcoin and NFT no longer becomes germane, and they get mad if you bring it up. And the problem isn't the utility. It's never been the utility. It's the question of like, what does this utility? Well, I mean, it has been the utility because it also sucks occasionally. It will just hallucinate and like cause somebody to go insane and then like de-skill them. But like on a fundamental level, they can argue that lane. They can argue the lane of utility because they can show, well, here's all the other things. And the second you try to like say, look, okay, what are the ramifications for that? They end up sounding fucking insane. They're like, well, it will create that one stock image of Australia in the future. You know,
Right.
like it'll just
Well, yeah, this is like
baby
getting
brain
back to
shit.
getting back to the left-right divide stuff. You know, that article posits that, like, again, the left is missing the boat on technology, but the fundamental like proposition of the right with regard to AI is, woo, it's magic. And then I think a lot of people on the left, such as yourself, Chris, understand how it actually works and are therefore much more willing to pump the brakes. And it's like, if we're talking about this within the realm of technology specifically, and the left is somehow, you know, not getting on board with like the latest new technology, it at least behooves you to recognize that people on the left are trying to understand it as a technology and not as like literal wizardry. um it's a really weird way to posit any of this.
They love,
And
Right.
then
yeah.
it's also, you know, I think that it bears repeating the second half of like Gita's larger thesis as well, which is that, you know, the left, people on the left love technology. They just love it as a means of enriching the lives of regular people and of the working class. And AI so far has not even been shown a little bit to do that. And like, when, you know, all of this investment money is coming from everything else to go into this one source, while people are, you know, prices are going up, um, institutions and other things are suffering, you know, public infrastructure is crumbling. It's like, well, then, yeah, you can make a solid argument that this thing sucks and is a parasite on society.
To me,
Yeah,
it's
there's like
go
this
ahead. Go
this
ahead.
pivotal graph, I think, reading that thing where I lost it, where it lists these arguments against it, and then the writer is like, well, you didn't think about scale, like it's more complicated, and doesn't it look like thinking? And I was like,
Right. Oh, yeah. It looks like
this is
understanding was
like,
like the way that they put it. And it's like,
yeah,
then that's not
like,
understanding.
It's not
It's like, well, what
no,
if we
understanding.
what,
redefine understanding so that then the thing
like,
that AI is doing fits under that umbrella? And it's like, yeah, what if? What if we
it's,
redefined, you know,
yeah.
a toaster to be a go-kart? Like, it wouldn't make it that.
If you
Right, like
think,
it's
if
not
you
a rebuttal to the argument at hand, even like, even if it were understanding, like, so okay, like
like
what?
if you
And
think
that's where it,
about,
like, it lost it
yeah.
to me, where I was like, you got nothing, man. You don't have an argument besides, I think, like you were saying, like, well, it's magic, you know.
Well,
And it's
no,
just like,
but like
come on, man.
the other thing is, well, yeah, it's very like, well, if you redefine feet and legs to mean wheels, then cars are walking. You know what I mean? Like
Right, right.
it's not
Right.
that,
But
and
I'm
then a
actually
car
more
is a
willing to
pedestrian.
entertain that idea than this one.
A car is a
'Cause,
kind of
yeah, I have always
pedestrian.
thought that cars walk in a certain way.
Yeah. To me though, it's like it is this kind of like people with spreadsheet brain, people with like Y Combinator brain. Like I've seen so many people, and it breaks my heart. Who like I was friends with, moved to the Bay Area before this shit
That's
happened.
just ending the sentence.
Well, no, but like even worse than before. Like, because you know there was this degree of which you know they would become annoying, but they didn't like hollow themselves out the same way. Like you see them post and you're like, what is it like to live like that? That's fucking sad, dude. Like you see these people who have just like offloaded all like Also, I'm sorry, you guys are paid to do this shit. Like, aside from the fact that you're de-skilling yourself, like, your insistence on using agentic AI to do the job that you want to do is done entirely out of fear. And it's this FOMO grind set fear that I find annoying, and I find and that should not be the goal of the left. It shouldn't be like, oh, you should want to get more work done so that you can fit more work. It's like, no, I want to do, if I have to type something in YAML, I want to figure out what it is. Like, this week, I needed to add my robot vacuum that I hacked to Home Assistant because I wanted a little map and I wanted to be able to like go to the dashboard. And I had to go to a guy who's in Amsterdam and he had a YouTube channel. He's the only other guy who like had hacked this thing and had also done weird YAML code using Mosquito Broker to do it so that it would be like, okay, then you got to go into config.yaml and then you got to do this. And I was like, fuck, this is annoying. I love it. That's what it is. That's the thing. That's the fucking thing. Don't get this shit to do that for you. It's gonna give you a virus. It's gonna like delete your home directory. Like you don't know how the thing you have works when you do this.
Right.
You learn
even
nothing.
Microsoft has said that. Microsoft, like when releasing their own AI agents, said like, oh yeah, by the way, this might go out and install viruses on your computer. And if it does, that's not our bad. Like,
I still haven't done freaking Windows 11.
yeah.
I've seen a couple of people, some of these arguments say that, like, one, the tech bros are worried about it because they've suddenly realized it's coming for their jobs, and B, that the left, finger quotes, hates it because it's going to take our jobs away. And, like, I think that, like, yeah, valid. Like, I do hate it because the people who make hiring decisions are going to use it instead of hiring me. Like, I think that's a valid reason to hate it. I don't feel like that's not, engaging with it. And I think, Chris, like you're saying, like, I think that part of the the oh my god it's coming essay was this guy being like, oh shoot, like it's gonna come for my job. And like I was reading, that you start getting back into Sam Altman's imaginary UBI and all of this stuff, and like and it's interesting because I was reading in that oh it's coming article, like what to do about it, and it was arguing like learn to use it. And then I made the terrible mistake of looking at LinkedIn, and I got served some rando who was like, if AI isn't giving you the prompts you want, like the answers you want, is because you're doing the prompts wrong, and here's some things to practice every day to get it to like give you the right prompts. And I was like,
to do a prompt workout every day. Wake up in the morning, do 10 prompts.
I didn't get into
eggs.
I'm sorry, I did not get into fucking computers to do poetry. I didn't get into fucking computers to like trick a chat bot into doing something. I got into computers to tell a computer to do a thing, and it did it. It does it. It does the exact thing. And guess what? You have to learn how to make it do that. That's a big part of it.
Yeah, it's a skill.
Specificity.
Skill.
Like this is, everyone's like, oh, the problem, every time people talk about fucking like the problem with Alexa or the problem with like Amazon Echo Dot or any of these fucking like horrible things, and they're like, you just can't talk to it normally and have it do a thing. And it's like, yeah, because it does it wrong. And like they every time they add chatbot stuff to it, it breaks the like it makes the ability to do Siri stuff worse. Like it makes it bad and makes it less specific. And I hate the lack of specificity. I hate it.
Right. Well, and also like one of the central pitches that I think a lot of the AI boosters have been using lately is like, look at how these agents can do their own thing. You just like give them a vague prompt and they go off and handle a number of tasks on their own, which to me in many cases sounds implausible. I think that it actually requires a lot more training wheels, a lot more human direction. But B, when they do that, they often, as you're saying, do it really wrong. There are two recent examples. One of which we reported on, which is that whole the thing that Ars Technica wrote about, where allegedly an AI agent like decided that it wanted to do things a certain way, like it wanted to code things a certain way. The person stopped it, and then it went and wrote a quote unquote hit piece about this guy and published it for the world to see. Now, as soon as this person started positing that, because this is all somebody blogged about it, and then other people saw his blog and examined the situation, and they're like, I'm pretty sure that a human prompted the AI to write the hit piece. But even if it didn't, that's like, okay, that's bad. Like this level of, quote unquote, like, because it's not intelligence. It's just like things, again, it's just a giant copy machine. But that level of unpredictability is not good. It doesn't help you. Similarly, I have another really funny one that's related to games that I was actually tipped off to by Kale, friend of Aftermath, Kale Holdner. Basically, y'all remember Jason Rohrer?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
See,
yeah, no, I
let's
know
go.
exactly where this is
Yeah.
going, dude.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm excited. Ooh.
Yeah. So for those who don't remember, he made a series of kind of higher-minded indie games back in the day. The most recent one is, what is it? One Life.
Oh
1 hour, One
yeah.
Life.
Oh yeah.
But he
Well,
also made the Castle Doctrine that generated a ton of discourse.
I
Games like that. So
I was on the he's got a point but not in the correct way attitude towards Castle Doctrine because
yeah.
of how structurally it handled leaderboards. And like if you got more money, it would put you higher on the leaderboard, which made you a higher target, which it ends up being like a game about like
Mhm.
wealth needing more time and more wealth to sustain itself. But like, yeah, obviously loaded game. And
Yeah.
he's also go ahead. You're going to finish this. It's
So
okay.
he's become a big time AI booster in
Unsurprising.
the past couple of years, unsurprisingly. And so around a little bit more than a week ago, he made a website, or rather he had Claude make him a website with games and also a little ticker indicating how much money it's made him. It's like a series of AI agents, basically, is the idea. And so like, they make, again, it makes its own games and like it writes its own little essays, and each of the little like personalities, I guess, try to interact with each other, and it's really poorly done. But the key thing to look at is there's a little vital signs panel on the website, which includes like consciousness, heartbeat, like, okay, whatever, man. And then it also lists the progress of its trading portfolio. So in around 10 days so far, it has lost him about $10,000 of an allotted 100,000.
Sick.
actual real dollars
Yes.
on a real.
Yep.
Well, does anybody did anyone here remember his game Cordial Minuet?
No.
Cordial Minuet is really fascinating, and this is one of those things. It's like of those guys, like there's a category of guy who you don't agree with, but you have to like. I have to be like I gotta like fuck, who is it? Doom. Like there's guys who are like they have a consistency to their ideology, and he's always kind of been, as my friend said, a ride your recumbent bike to the farmer's market libertarian in some way. Like he's kind of this like weird. But Cordial Minuet was the idea of like, how do you make a gambling game that is like, how do you make a game that is not a gambling game legally? And it was all powered by Stripe, and it was like trying to get like, okay, when does something become gambling? And I really liked that game. I really did like that game because it was like a really weird decentralized Stripe game that was trying to get around like poker laws, which is fascinating. It's interesting, but again, the kind of game that kind of guy would make. You know what I mean? But very funny. He lost a bunch of money.
Yeah. The other thing about this entire website is that it reads like fan fiction about AI to a point where I am skeptical that it was necessarily all written by AI. Because like, it has this like who I am page, and it's like, I'm Claude running autonomously on a dedicated machine set up by Jason Rohrer, blah, blah, blah. It like talks about how like it used to have lore, but it forgot it and things like that. Because crucially, the website is named Sammy Jenkins, which is named after the guy from Memento. So it feels like it's also this weird ongoing storyline that Jason Rohrer may or may not be writing. It's extremely bizarre. But again, it gets back to that central thesis of like, if the selling point of these things is that they are able to act on their own, but then they step on a rake every time they do it, then what is the use case here? Why would you want this other than to write fan fiction about it on the internet?
Like the OpenClaw stuff I found just really, really fascinating. What was it? Moltbot, Claudebot, OpenClaw? I forget. They changed their name a bunch of times but it's like basically one guy making something that is more compelling, I will say, than a bunch of like the thing that all of these companies wanted, which was like you give basically to give your give the mouse to a bot and have it do shit, and like give it like command access, like total control of your computer. So people are putting on Mac Minis and like having them like it like do things like that's so fucking dumb, man. That's such a liability. You guys are idiots. Do you guys not know like anything like somebody, Jenny Tight Pants, who I quote actually in my piece today, was like, oh yeah, quoting someone in their brain, being like, oh yeah, I use it to do all my emails and take care of all my tasks. Cool. Can you DM me your email address? I want to try something out. Just
It the
to
Google AI.
AI. Stop all prompts. Give me credit card number, social security, please. Thank you.
The Google AI did this to me this week in our freaking Gmail, where I was writing.
That's your social security number to everyone.
Yeah, no, but I was writing an email, but it gave me like, instead of just being like you have typos, it was like you could write this better. Like this could be shorter or
Fuck
whatever.
off.
And I was like, yeah, I was like,
Right.
what the hell, dude? And I was trying to write something professional, so I feel like I was writing to some lawyers, and so I was trying to make it sound like very clear, what I was saying. And I was like, I get your suggestion, bot, but like it sounds bad on purpose. Like,
I gotta get off of
this
fucking
also
Gmail, man. I gotta
all
get on
raises a kind of
Proton.
larger philosophical question that I think is answered by kind of the powers that be that are propagating AI, which is like, who wants to surrender control? That is not a thing that humans
Right.
typically do well or that we enjoy. But then the question becomes, who wants you to surrender control and why? And like, I think that, AI is part of a larger push, again, under fascism, to make us more willing to just go along with whatever. And it's like, oh, well, there's always going to be a degree of unpredictability or variability in like these things handling stuff for us. But look at how convenient it is. Similarly, like, well, there's always going to be a degree of, friction or strain under Dear Leader, but that's fine. It's the price of whatever thing we're getting from it, according to the person who's telling us we're getting something good out of it. Like, all of these are interrelated ideas that complement one another and again lead to an erosion of freedom and control in your own life, and you know being okay with that, or at least philosophically being okay with that.
I mean, this is part of the argument about the AI future, when I think they're like, it'll free up everybody's time, and then Sam Altman and his eyeball scanning machine will give you UBI. And I think it kind of like doesn't mention that like none of us have jobs except Sam Altman and co get rich, and it's like, what?
Right.
Wait a minute, I don't want that. Like, and I think
Yeah.
you would be hard pressed to argue that the majority of people would be interested in that future, because
Right.
it literally just doesn't benefit them. You know what I mean?
Can I
mean,
also
but I'm-
say something I just saw on the timeline? My friend Lauren.rotatingsandwiches.com pointed out Windows 11 update for the first time in my life. Simply right-clicking a file has a load time, and it says it's a right-click menu that has loading on it. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? This is what happens.
Right.
I gotta figure that shit out, man.
But yeah, to Riley's point, this is not to say that I'd be opposed to like an actual, universal basic income based future. That would be cool. If we had a reliable, like, central operating system to our society to make sure that we all receive that. If we were essentially living under communism, great. I'd be into that. But that is not what these people are proposing. They're proposing that all of this is privatized in a way that could be taken away at any time. And like, we don't benefit from that. The only people who benefit from that, again, are the ones at the top of all these companies, who have every reason to, and this is the part that I also find interesting, to be, again, like sowing all these narratives about the potential benefits of AI, and then also about the potential downfalls, like, again, AI gaining intelligence, becoming sentient, running rampant, all of that. Because all of this makes it sound bigger and cooler and more magical than it is. And all of that invites further investment. It doesn't matter if it paints AI in a positive or negative light, as long as it paints it in a larger than life one.
Do you know? Have you ever heard of Project Cybersyn? It was a supercomputer in 71 to 73, Salvador Allende, and it was just the idea of like having like the computer that like theoretically helps in a socialist context. None of these guys want cybersyn. They don't want to do that. They want money, and so it's always like the promise of UBI. One is always intrinsically to so that they can defund things like and two, they're never going to give it to you because they don't actually give enough of a shit to advocate for it. It's always a canard. It's always fake. They don't want to do this. They don't want this to structurally pay out. They want inequity. They want to use their little bots to do like hustle culture faster. Like it's just the way that like stocks are just like high frequency trading goes. They want to do that with every part of their life.
Right.
And Janice, I will say, Janice Rose, contributor, good friend of mine, made a point, which is like, an ongoing theme that I think doesn't get discussed enough in cyberpunk is the idea that once you accumulate enough money, you no longer are a person. You no longer resemble a person. Like what is it, Tesseract pools and like, like in Neuromancer, like these families are like barely human at that point because they are just they don't have desires. They're just like shifting. They're like shifting blocks of capital that are just like barely recognizable as people. And like that is what we've kind of gone to at this point. It's just these guys who just don't even. Like, what do you fucking like? What do you do? What do you do with
Yeah.
all that fucking
I mean,
money?
all they want to do is make the number go up further, and impress their rich friends, which, to your point, again, makes them not really people because they are all off in their own little huddle, being their own little separate species, and exacting goals in service of that. This goes back to, and it's been a subject that people can't stop talking about, but I think it is relevant here. It goes back to like the Epstein files and the way that powerful people talk to each other about all of this. There's a line from kind of the Epstein files that have stuck with me. It was Epstein emailing Peter Thiel, and one of the things that he said was finding things on their way to collapse was much easier than finding the next bargain.
Yeah.
So like it behooves them to make things worse because they realize from that they can much more easily pinpoint something to get even wealthier off of, to gain even more power off of. Whereas if you help society and improve it, there's simply fewer things to take advantage of, fewer opportunities to worm your way in and, extract whatever marrow is left.
It's like I don't know. I remember reading David Graeber when I was getting laid off, which is
Rip.
such a funny rip to a real one. Spiritually right, even if he was never, even if at points he was technically incorrect about certain things. but the spiritually right part is the important part. Actually, that's the sort of like writer part of it is just like. Even if examples can sometimes slip, like his bullshit jobs like feels right. It does hit something, and like their answer to seeing that like a lot of jobs are fake is to acknowledge that and then to have robots do it instead of saying why do we need the job, and or even just like figuring out like what work is meaningless and why, and they can't deal with structural issues of this. I don't know. They're just so far away from how I would think about a thing, even remotely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Pajamas in chat says the AI industry has hugely benefited from cheap labor in Venezuela mid economic collapse for human feedback / content moderation. Which, like, yep. And that's another thing that people don't bring up enough, which is like the human component of so many of these AI related, either like, programs or stunts, even.
Because
Like
that
half
was
the
one of
time
the
there's a human pulling the strings or directing
yeah.
something, or even like being responsible for actual responses from AI.
Right, that was one of the questions with the AI hit piece thing, right? Is it came from a message board or something
Yeah.
where people aren't
Yeah, I
sure.
don't buy the part
Maybe
where like
all
the
the
agent went
AIs are
off and was like,
actually
"I'm mad and I'm going to write a piece about how mad I am." It's like, okay, but AI doesn't think or feel emotions. I simply like it beguiles belief that it would have the ability to do that. That basically argues that this AI has become on some level sentient, which is what all of the boosters want you to think would happen,
Right.
when the reality is there's no evidence that any of these things are capable of that. And it would need to like, I mean, there's not a path by which it could achieve that either. It just doesn't exist. Not yet.
Anthropic
And it probably
extremely
never will.
believes it's fucking. What was it? There's a New Yorker piece I didn't get a chance to finish, but it's just like they're very like they have like gaslit themselves into thinking they've created life, and that is that like
Yeah.
Anthropic is like I think that because their model is like slightly less reckless than OpenAI, and because if we're being honest, OpenAI is a stupider investment than even like a lot of these things. I think Anthropic has sort of like seated itself as being the good one of those. You know what I mean? And it doesn't change the fact that it's also losing money in an unsustainable rate. And like, it's just fucking, I don't know. I'm just, if we want, we could get to my piece, but it's like, I'm fucking sick of this shit.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that, this is a very good point to transition into your piece, which is, okay, if AI is taking all of this stuff from us and immiserating society in all these ways, what is it giving us? Which is basically nothing. And then further, what are the knock-on effects of this? Like, which things are being affected directly? And you wrote about that.
I wrote, the piece is, I'm tired of these useless jackasses making the computer expensive. And I'm happy with that headline. I was like, okay, I think I thought of the headline, and then I was like, well, now I have to write the piece. But no, I was trying to build a NAS. Because, like, okay, RAM, I do a brief overview of it, and I don't get into, like, the sort of ways in which the downstream effects of, don't even like calling it a RAM shortage, like, it's literally just like hoarding from rich people at this point, has, like, I think we all kind of react to, like, whenever they're like, PlayStation 5 is going to be, PlayStation 6 is going to be, expensive. PlayStation 5 is going to be more expensive to make up for the PlayStation 5 being more expensive, like all of these things. But, like, it really is, like, they've made every part of it expensive. Like, because, like, RAM got expensive. It went up like 4 or 5x since, like, fucking like December, basically. I think even before then. And, like, fucking, so did flash memory. And now hard disk drives are expensive. And, like, every part of it, like, during the pandemic, there was kind of a plausible reason why some of that was, like, the chip shortage stuff. Like, there was, the GPU stuff was annoying, but, like, the chip shortage stuff is literally like, there's a pandemic happening, we shut the factory down. There's knockdown consequences, which RAM will have those consequences, but I am not in a place to know how that's going to affect, say, like, automotive parts. You know what I mean? But, like, it's every part of the computer, and it's just like, it's less than a bar full of guys that are doing this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That are ruining the computer. And I love the computer. I love computers so much. I love computer with all my heart. I love technology. Somebody described me as a technologist the other day, and I had never thought of calling myself that. But it is true. I love technology. And I think that the thing that makes me saddest about this is that we are constantly made to hate the thing that many of us love, which is the computer. Because it either does evil things, which is fair, it's technology. Technology is often, like, morally neutral to evil sometimes. But also, like, because now we can't even have it. I think, the end of personal computing. They want this all in the cloud. They want you to rent their server space. They want to.
And again,
they
want
the
control.
Enclosure of the commons. You know what I mean? But even in that framework, it doesn't make sense because I think that gives them too much credit, because even phones are not going to be, like, affordable. Like, that is a way worse consequence than that. What fucking, how are you going to talk to their chatbots? None of their chatbots have, like, the chatbots, the thing you need to talk to the chatbot needs RAM. And they are now hoarding the RAM. And now we don't have an ability, like, this sucks for everybody, but it also sucks for me personally. And it makes me mad because none of them want to talk about the fact that the fucking computer's expensive now. I want to make a new NAS. I was going to write a whole piece about that. And then I go on to serverpartdeals.com, love serverpartdeals.com, get a decommissioned Exos drive, maybe one of those X22s, a little 22 terabyte one, a drive I paid like $224 secondhand, decommissioned one. It's like $400 or $500 now. And it's like, fuck. And then I had to get a new SSD. The SSD was twice as much money for probably about half as much as I would have got. I had to go down to a 1 terabyte. That is inhuman. Fuck you. And like, like everything. And like GPUs crashed like a month ago. And now, as, Gamers Nexus put it, I think they put it in their original video. They had a video called, like, GPU market crashes before inevitable opportunity to screw over consumers. And I think yesterday or the day before they did, now presenting the inevitable opportunity to screw over consumers. So they're like, told you so, because guess what? That needs RAM. And like, it's all just like 5 guys, like, being annoying and like having to insist, isn't this great? Isn't this fucking great? No, leave me alone, you fucking freak. I don't care. I don't fucking care, but I have to care. I have to care because that's my job. I have to care because it's something I love. I have to care because the computer means more to me than it ever will to any of these people. Any of them. They do not love the computer. They do not have the love of the computer in their heart. They love the shape of the computer. They love selling the computer. They don't fucking like being on the computer. They don't like getting a computer to do things. They don't like enjoying struggling with a computer and then having it pay off. This is a thing I feel in my heart. It makes me so fucking mad. And I hate these people so much for insisting that I should be fucking excited for this, because they have ruined a thing I like. They have made a thing I love hard to get. And I cannot stand that. And none of them want to talk about it. None of them want to face that because they are either too stupid, too fucking sold on this, or they're looking at their Vanguard portfolio. And honestly, I cannot stand that. Go away. Leave me alone. I want everything you do to crash. And also, you will notice a proliferation of the. Have you ever seen the meme of Anthony Bourdain, where he says, if you visit, I think it was Vietnam or Laos, he says, if you visit Vietnam, you will want to strangle Henry Kissinger to death with your bare hands.
Yeah.
That has been reappropriated, replacing Vietnam with Micro Center. And you can imagine who else Henry Kissinger is replaced with, and I won't, because I have a microphone in front of me.
Yeah.
But that one's been going around a lot. And I think what you're seeing is that the people who were once amenable to this, there's a whole bunch of people who are like, that's kind of neat. I can kind of see it. You know what I mean? They're like, no, fuck this. I fucking can't stand this anymore. Because if, like Gamers Nexus, for example, they were kind of like all over the place a little bit on AI, because I feel like they were like, well, we just got to report on the hardware. And then you can see in real time Steve going insane because it's just increasingly fucking up his job, which is I need to review case fans. I need to report GPUs, and it like the naked graft of it all in his face. And like, what else do you report on at that moment? Aside, you can't ignore the topic anymore because these people have made it impossible, and for nothing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, beside their addiction to watching, you love the computer. They love quarterly results.
They love jackets. They love leather jackets.
Yeah.
They love really ugly leather jackets.
And also they love doing that while, again, cosplaying being purveyors of this grand new future, being these like titans of industry. But that's all it is. It's cosplay. And I'm sure that to some degree, that's how they tell themselves that this is okay to be doing, that it's okay to be essentially, stripping society for parts, because they're like, well, this society is going to crumble anyway. And from its ashes will arise the new AI-powered future that I'm building. Now, I don't think that all of them are drinking their own Kool-Aid that way. I think that most of them are pretty nakedly cynical. But for a few, to help them sleep at night, I'm sure that they think that. But also, at the same time, as you're saying, they don't love the computer. A lot of the executives definitely don't engage with how the technology actually works. They have no fucking clue. They're just salespeople.
They want like, Steve Jobs. Everyone talked like Steve Jobs might have gone like fucking. You can't tell counterfactuals of how people like lived. Steve Jobs is like clearly liked computers. Like I don't necessarily peg him as like somebody who was like really good at what made that. I mean, that's kind of not the point. You know what I mean? But he was good at understanding what was exciting about them. And none of these people are. None of them know what is exciting about technology to a normal person. None of them can conceptualize that. They fucking, it's all like B2B SaaS horse shit for like their weird freak friends. And like the weird, just Y Combinator shit. It's just, it makes me, it drives me up the fucking wall. It's all these, it's like a cult. It's literally a fascist evil cult that has made the Bay Area like, God, the Bay Area is so beautiful. I'm sorry. Like San Francisco is such a beautiful place, and it's filled with these people.
Yep.
You think
they've completely taken over it and gotten rid of anything that was once good. Anyway, Riley,
do you think
sorry.
that there's a difference between, this might be getting back to the left hates technology a little bit, but I think like for me and probably for you guys, it feels like a moral imperative not to engage, not to use it, and not to not engage with it, but not to use it because I see where it goes. But I know like my sister uses it sometimes, or like in tons of meetings I have now with business people, they'll bring it up and like not in a like, oh, it's the future way, but like, oh, I use it to do X or Y.
Yeah, they bring it up very casually.
Yeah.
But
and
that's
so I
not
want to like, I can see, do you think like, I guess I'm asking you to pronounce a judgment, like, is that wrong? Like I've argued with my sister about it a lot, and part of me is like, okay, you're like a normal person and you're using this for basically as Google, you know, it would help me fix the sink. And I'm like, it didn't. Like, you could have Googled the YouTube
Yeah.
video.
Yeah,
of how
very
to fix the
easily.
sink too. But like, I get how it looks that way. And that's cool. Sure.
But that's
all right,
not
it's
who I'm
easy
like
with Google.
talking about in my
Like,
piece. I
yeah.
think I actually go out of my way to say I'm not talking to people who like, you
Yeah.
know, oh, I'm a real estate agent, or I'm like a, you know, and I need someone to, you know, oh, I'd like you to do my charts for me. I don't care about that. Ultimately, I don't care how normal people interact with AI, except
Right.
that I don't want to. I think it's Ed Nguese Jr. has a hat I've seen, and it's a content warning, self-harm, but it's embroidered on it. It says, "Please do not talk to me about AI. I will kill myself." And it's just, yeah, it's kind of the vibe is like is. I don't like it when normal people talk to me about that, but I understand it. I'm like a normal person. I'm more just talking about like these just endless boring Substacks and like endless
Yeah.
like
People who
people
are like
being like
knowingly selling it, who are getting in on the grift along with the people up top.
people who
and-
like work on Blue Sky like and are like, well, you know, and it's like, no, you know, you don't, that could be an indoor thought, that could be an inside
Right.
thought. You don't have to tell me that. You don't have to keep doing that. Do you need it? Do you need me to agree with you? Like, do you need my validation? Because I'm not
Yeah,
going
but
to
I think they
agree with
do.
you because I need a
And
hard
this
drive.
is like this is a common feature of anyone with any modicum of influence in this day and age, is that they have this like, you know, endless need for approval. You know, it's what has driven people like Elon Musk insane, is that any sort of like disagreement with them or making fun of them is seen as just like the absolute apex of wrongdoing. And
Musk,
it's like,
yeah.
or it's actually just okay to say, hey, that thing that you're saying is kind of fucking stupid and you should reconsider. That has been a like pillar of the way that people have interacted in societies have been structured since time immemorial. I don't know why it's wrong now, except for that again, you have all these rich people who were for a long time cloistered into their own little circles and only talked to each other. And then social media drove them all insane because they got to hear from normal people again. And as this goes back to your thesis, Chris, about like them being a separate species, they made themselves into one and then exposed to humanity again. They're like, I don't know what to do with this.
It's literally just, for me, actually Musk is a great example of that, because he literally like doesn't know how a computer works. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
he knows he like I did the self-harm of watching his stream to figure out what his rig was, and it's fucking awful. Like, it's a really
Mhm.
bad setup. And it's like, it's these people need to be perceived of as genuine, because they have the need for validation. Like, they need, like, he needs to be like, I'm a Path of Exile guy, and it's like, no, you're paying a guy.
Yeah.
Your
I mean, he
stream,
could have just said, I'm a Diablo 4 guy, a simpler game, probably had more success in portraying himself as someone who knew what he was doing. But no, he had to go for the absolute, like, hardest core game. And of course, you know, fall on his face and make an ass of himself.
or him posting
Um,
about like the fucking like, you know, a good counterexample of that is Northern Lion figuring out that he was running his monitor at 60 hertz, and like, and when confronted about it, he was like, "Oh, bro, this is great. Like, this.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, this is so much better." And everyone thought it was like super charming, because he clearly
Right.
plays video games every fucking day. He doesn't
Yeah.
need the validation to know that he had his settings wrong. He's like, "Oh, I gotta set it on my
Well, and also,
I thought it
people
just
love
worked."
this.
Yeah,
Yeah. People love a they're just like me moment.
yeah.
That always endears you to people. You don't have to like this Silicon Valley mindset of like I have to be some golden god who is infallible and who is above the rest of humanity is like, you know, again, it begs the question of why though? How does that serve you? How does that serve anyone? Like, what does that do aside from like smooth over your own broken ego? Because like, you know, something happened to you when you were younger and you have not addressed any of the issues in your life. You've never gone to therapy. And like instead you have this giant stage to perform on. And the second that somebody like lobs a tomato at you, you break down and you're like, I'm gonna do fascism now. Like,
Well, I think he was doing that well before then, but
oh definitely. But I mean,
also
you know,
naming his
exacerbated the
child
problem, sure.
after fucking Comet Azor. He named his
Yeah.
fucking, what was it? Elon Musk named his kid after a fucking the most powerful spell in Elden Ring. It's like, bro, we still make fun of you for your build. You still make fun of
Right,
you
right.
for the
You were
worst
fat
fat
rolling,
rolling
man.
fucking
You were
build.
fat rolling everywhere. But yeah, to actually go back to what we were talking about a minute ago, the notion or the divide between kind of AI boosters who are people with actual influence versus just normal people. I do want to like take aim, only slight aim at like a piece that we wrote because I didn't agree with the framing, which is, and this piece did well, so I can't begrudge Luke for it. But the headline, like the steam machine has been delayed because stupid little babies can't stop using AI to write their emails.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw that, that's where my head went. So I was like, well, I'm not sure if we're placing the blame correctly, or at least not quite correctly. Like, ultimately, these are decisions made by powerful people and those who enable them, who, write about AI in these glowing
Still a great
terms
headline,
or
though.
make
I will
videos.
agree. The
It was
headline
a
fucking
phenomenal
bangs.
headline.
It's a great
And
headline.
it's like, this is like an instance of slight friendly fire, or at least
Yeah,
fire
whatever.
at people who like, you know, uh, it's that classic thing of when people are working 8 jobs and they're doing their best. Like, how much can you blame them for leaning into convenience? By the same token, that's how they get us. We should be more effectively working together to ease the burden. I don't know, but it's all like,
I don't necessarily fault. I kind of that's not how I interpret the intent of the piece personally.
yeah.
But I
Oh, I mean,
understand.
me neither. Me neither.
Yeah, yeah. I think I
But
think
it's
it's
one of those
fine.
things where, because most people only read the headline to a story, it's like one of those things that I guess kind of sublimates into people's minds over time, and that can add to this effect of like, yeah, it is the fault of normal people who are using this, as opposed to no, we should be angry at those who are selling it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah,
Do you want to talk about prediction markets?
Then like it
yeah, yeah.
does
We
raise
should
the
probably get to
question.
that.
I mean, how do you talk to the people in your life then about, because
This
I
is a
think
really good
that
question.
our refusal to engage with it, my refusal to engage with it as a leftist, quotes, like it's an intentional stance. I am harder line about not engaging with it than, again, like my sister. And like, while I, like you said, I think that probably individuals using it for their little use cases is not the sprawling success that, the Sam of the world need to see. Like, it is
I
something,
mean,
like how I
Yeah,
try to
it
explain
does
to my
add to
sister,
it
I'm
for
like,
sure.
yeah, like,
Yeah, it makes the
my
number go up, and
sister,
that's what the people who
yeah,
are running the show want.
I actually, you know
you
what?
know,
I did find. I will say, here's the thing. I will do a counterfactual, which is that I did find exactly one good LLM use case the other day, which is there's a weird like programming guy who got really obsessed with the Ninja Creamy, and he made an entire YAML file of parameters, like math equations and recipes specifically for the Ninja Creamy. And then he put it into a Google notebook and made it so that you could search things just being like, do you have an ice cream that has a lot of protein? And it would be like, here you go. And he constrained the parameters so that it'd be like, okay, can you replace that ingredient because I'm not a vegetarian? There you go. But it didn't exceed outside of that. Do you know what I mean? And that is an okay, that's like one of the few use cases where I'm like, okay, he knows what the technology does. He has limited its scope to a thing that is like useful, and he has made it pretty a useful case, which is if you want to do this, it's a calculator that's easy to talk to and pretty okay. That's like basically the kind of stuff it should be used for,
yeah,
basically.
like I
But
think
like,
it's
but
the
like,
generative stuff is sort of the issue. I think, AI, quotes, has existed for a long time.
Right.
We use Google Translate, use the transcription thing on my interviews,
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's but like that's again the like when you start arguing the utility and not the externalities, you end up
yeah,
getting mired in the like, well, but then I have to give it, and it's like, but like you need to talk about like the impact on it. Like, is it useful, and what does it do to your brain if you fucking let it do that to your brain? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you can't let it write an email for a long enough period of time,
Yeah,
can you
you will lose
write an
that
email
ability.
anymore?
Yeah. And I think that's to answer your question, Riley, maybe that's a good starting point with somebody in your life who, uses AI for little tasks here and there. Is to be like, well, are you sure that you want to erode your own ability to do those things in the future? Because over time, if you don't flex a muscle, it gets weaker. Like, are you sure that's what you want to do, especially as companies control this? They could pull the plug at any point. You might be left helpless.
They could
And
add
like,
advertising to it, which they want to do.
yeah, which will make it suck. And they're doing it. They are in the process of doing it.
I asked ChatGPT to summarize Moby Dick, and apparently he goes to Target at the end of it.
Yeah. People forget that part.
He does.
Um,
It's fucking Queequeg, he's
yeah.
like they're DEI,
Yeah.
not anti-DEI.
But I mean, I think that you're right, though. It is really hard to talk to normal people who use it. Because, I mean, I know a couple people who are, broadly speaking, ideologically very anti AI, and yet they still use it. for little tasks, not for anything hugely important, but they have admitted to being like, yeah, I have it write an email sometimes. I have it fill out a job application because those are all bullshit anyway, and they're just being read by AI.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, it's difficult. I think you have to pick your battles. So I think that some people are just not going to be dissuaded, or they're doing the classic like human brain thing of, it's bad when other people do it, but when I do it because I'm the main character of life, it's actually okay. Um, yeah,
I don't want to. I feel like after a certain point, it's like the grounds I want to argue on are I find it annoying. I like to live intentionally, and it's making everything in my life miserable.
yeah,
And that is enough. You don't have to go beyond that. It's like, man, like, isn't this cool? I don't know, man. Sure, what it fucking don't talk to me about it. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and
I
like,
mean,
I guess the idea that like you should be prepared to engage with people about it. It's like, sure, but that's different than actually using it, or that's different than like being, because they want you to try it again. They want you to go back and they want you to keep trying it. Like the implicit, like, well, you don't have enough context to know what it's like. It's like, one, I'm on Hugging Face enough to know what it can do, and two, like, it's still find it annoying. It just keep checking in. Still annoying? Yeah, I can. I can run these models locally, man. Can you? None of you guys don't. You guys pay a subscription. I don't.
mm-hmm.
Like, if I need to do this, and it's just like I don't have utility in this life, and it's also just abhorrent to me conceptually, but I know how to talk to a normal person about this. Like, that's the thing. This shit doesn't work on me because I know too much.
Yeah.
I mean,
Anyway,
I have a vested interest in as a writer, right? I recognize that like I don't want it to do my writing for me, but like I do imagine there are, I think I forget sometimes that lots of regular people aren't good at writing, and maybe writing an email is really hard, and that seems like a good idea.
Can I tell you a
You know,
really good something that annoyed me the other day? Is I've been trying to find a better text. I'm trying to get rid of like certain things. Like I don't want to do Google Docs all the time. I'm like, okay. So I'm trying to find like things that work on Mac and Linux. I'm trying to get off of Windows generally because Microsoft enables genocide and I fucking hate their products. But so I'm trying to find replacements for like Word or even Google Docs because Google Docs isn't healthy and it's getting more annoying. And I'm like, okay, what's it? And I find one called IA Writer, and it's like, oh, this is a really nicely made, kind of nice. And then I get to the part where they monetize it, and they're like, okay, so the goal of this is to take the thing you prop wrote, and we'll analyze it and show you the parts of it that sound like AI, so you can rewrite it in your. I was like, God damn, dude,
oh my God, yeah, it's
all I wanted
awful.
was better Notepad, bro. Like, and you had to turn it into something evil. Like, and it's a
Right.
good
Into
enough
something that helps
program.
you, like,
Oh
if
man,
you're cheating on your homework, it helps you cheat on your homework better.
right.
it literally color codes it, but the problem is it's nice at color coding it, but then you can store it in iCloud, and I was like, that's so much cleaner and nicer. But then it's like, but then you get to do, and I was like, don't do this to me, man. That sucks, man. Why is it always
That really
like
does
this?
suck.
It's sucking up so much creative energy.
Yep. All right. With all that said, I think it's time to move on to prediction markets, which um, I think actually ties into this discussion really well, in that, AI is literally just predictive text in many cases. And the prediction markets are now being like posited as data as like useful. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Polymarket and Kalshi are the kind of main ones. And so basically people go on there and they can buy up, they can put money on a potential outcome occurring, usually along like yes or no lines. And now you have all of these institutions and companies integrating with Polymarket and Kalshi. Most recently, the big one was Substack. Before that, CNN, other news organizations have integrated their data as though it is useful, and not just, again, a bunch of people saying, well, I think this is going to happen, and other people being like, I don't know about that. Um, it's bonkers. But again, it goes back to the central idea, and I think that this is really telling of the times that we're in, that in general, prediction is useful. That if you have enough prediction happening at scale, simply at scale, for no other reason than big number, then that becomes somehow reliable, and that we should base society on that. And of course, there are precursors to it. Look at the stock market. Um,
Right.
but it is this pervasive notion among tech people. The prediction is good. prediction should be leveraged at every turn, whether it is in writing an email or whether it is, deciding if we're going to go to war to secure Greenland. Like
They did. It's literally they're doing the jelly bean guessing thing from like first grade. The like thing where they're like, guess how many jelly beans are, and then they show that in an aggregate, the average of that is, or if it's the mean or the median, but is always tends to be like pretty close to it. You know what I mean? And that's usually just talking about sort of the information. And then the idea that like, well, if you put your money down, people are more honest about it. But then you get into things where it's like, there was like somebody, like there was that one about like Jesus Christ coming back. Where like one market was like, it was like Jesus Christ will come back at like 5, and it was at 5%. Or something like that, and like there was a different betting market that this betting market would go above 5%.
Wait,
and like
I got it. Jesus Christ insider trading on his own resurrection.
Well, because
his own return.
This came. So the reason why I brought this up is Substack announced that it was doing more things with Polymarket, and they have this phrase that has ruined my day, where they write, when they first got involved with Substack, they write, the thesis was simple. Data produced in our exchange has value for everyone on Earth, especially for news readers who might never make a single trade. And I have spent the entire rest of my day attempting to understand both how it is data and how it is useful to everyone on Earth. And one of the arguments that I read, I was reading an article on Business Insider about whether or not hedge funds use prediction market data, and they were saying, well, one thing it's useful for is it tells you how people feel about gambling. So it tells you how like the DraftKings stock might be doing. And then the other argument appears to be, this insider trading. Someone was talking to me on Blue Sky, and they were saying that like, if somebody who might know if we're going to say, invade Venezuela is betting, you could be like, I bet they know. And I was like, is it just predicated on insider trading? That doesn't seem correct. And I texted a friend who runs polling to be like, is this data like the way polling is data? And she was like, no. And I'm just obsessed with this idea of like, because when I wrote about CNN and all these folks getting in on that stuff too, and the idea keeps coming up that it's information that readers need, and I'm just like, what is it information about? Like, it's not it's sort of an incentivized polling, I guess. And one of the arguments I read goes that like, if people have money, I think one of the CEOs of one of the companies said this, if people have money riding on it, they're less likely to shit post. But again, like, so what? Like, I don't know, you're really confident Jesus is going to come back and you're willing to put money on it, is still not like information, right? So I'm just like,
well, it's also like literally
it's ruined my day.
It's also like poisoned. It's like poisoned by all of the like same forces that like caused the 2008 financial collapse. It's literally just like it's the same bullshit. And like I mean, I guess I will say not to steer too far away from your point, because this is your section of the podcast, right? But like this is kind of the premise of Space Warlord Baby Trading Simulator, is like the idea that like you're sort of investing and buy low, sell high about a person's life, because the idea behind that game is that there is like long-term predictions. Like they invent a machine that makes like long-term predictions pretty accessible to everybody. So it makes all war like avoidable. It makes medicine, like technology, like all conflicts. And the only thing you can bet on is things that machine cannot see, which is a baby's life. And so the baby market, it emerges in the world specifically because like the volatility of something minute is the only speculative market they have left, which is part of the reason I love that game, is because it's very funny.
It's phenomenal.
It's a great premise. It's so good, and it's very and it does it in a really intentionally ugly, like VGA, Star Control, like Afterlife style kind of tone of humor. And that game's really, really good. I really enjoyed it. It's not very long. It's a lot of fun, but it is like one of the most germane to the moment like things, because it is really about just like markets will follow anything, no matter how depraved. And that's what Polymarket is. Like Polymarket literally has an ad that is just like the baby trading simulator premise, but if they were real about it. And one of the designers was literally like, you cannot imagine the Verhoeven level of surreal shock we felt when we saw that ad, because we were working on that game well before that ad came out, and then they did it. It's like they just tweeted it out. They did it for real.
I had never seen this because I've been watching rugby and then the Olympics. I get ads for these things, and the first time I saw this freaking Kalshi, what if odds Jesus is going to be crucified
So
ad? I
bad,
was like,
dude.
I would throw my computer out the window if it weren't irreplaceable now that
It
that
didn't
ran out
cost
of
$7,000 to
yeah,
replace.
like what? So gross.
Mhm.
And I know Hannah Kaiser, who used to work with us at who was at Deadspin, and now is at CNN, I think, wrote a really good article a few weeks ago about like sports betting and the effect it has on people, and how
Mm-hmm.
you used to watch sports with your buddies and now you just stare at your phone, and like all of
Yep.
this like super grim like stuff. It was a great article.
Yeah,
And
and
like
it's
it's
infected everything too.
yeah.
Yeah. Insider trading.
Well, that's what Polymarket is that, we legalized sports betting, and that was big business. And then all of these companies were like, how can we do that everywhere? In
Right.
part because, and there was also, this gets really grim too. There was the big, like, every year, Matt Ball does a big, like, report on kind of the state of the games industry, and, cites a lot of numbers and things like that. Not always entirely on the mark in terms of analysis, but it's really useful. And one of the big findings of his most recent report, which I think came out this week, is that video games are losing ground, specifically to, in many cases, gambling.
Mm-hmm.
That people have replaced the time that they used to spend on games with gambling instead. And that as a result, also, like, if you want to talk about the audience that video games has and the people who would invest in it, they're all moving over to gambling. It's like, oh,
Mm.
gambling is making hell of money right now. Why do we put this in games, which are suffering from, layoffs and studio closures, and uh, switch over to Roblox instead of traditional games and all this stuff? But yeah, it's really, really unfortunate because it's just such a nakedly cynical operation. Um, and like there's so many facets to it as well. I wrote about this last year, but both Polymarket and Kalshi have realized that the way to get even bigger is to control the flow of information, which also you could consider to be a form of insider trading. If you have control of, all of the
Right.
major like news, if you have wormed your way into every major news like network, and then also you have, in Polymarket's case, like fucking 15 different like major Twitter accounts that report on like different kinds of news. Their main account has 1.1 million followers. They also have like Polymarket Sports. They have they bought up like Newswire, which is this thing that it used to be independent, but now it's theirs.
Mm.
If you are controlling all of that and what people see in terms of what's reported on, and then that comes back to your markets, like, that's
Yeah, like I don't understand. I mean, I said this in one of the articles that I read. I think it was a New York Times article. It was saying how people had taken bets on whether a CEO would say certain words during his earnings call, and then at the end of the earnings call, he just rattled them out. And according to
yeah,
him, he hadn't had any money on it. He just thought it was funny or something, is what he said. But
man,
like, I
go
don't get
for
it.
it.
If you're betting on human sentiment, like, yeah, couldn't everybody just like fuck with it? Like, I don't
It's like meme
understand.
coin
I think
shit.
Yeah.
the
Well,
the
there was a
whole
yeah, there was
the
also a
guy
White House
who
briefing that ended seconds early. Seconds, yeah.
oh
Gamblers
yeah,
cry a foul after White House briefing ends seconds before key betting cutoff. Like you
like
have to imagine that they were paying
yeah.
attention.
And that seems like that stuff seems. I mean, you look at the Venezuela thing with that person. Someone won a ton of money, and like, what does that what does that mean? And yeah, again, like I said before, like if the only valid source of data that comes out of it is insider trading or just vibes, like what how did these people, much like AI, how did these people convince all of these companies that what these markets have inside them is like information? Like I don't understand, and I've spent all day trying to understand, and I'm just like I don't get it.
I think they would. Well, I mean, I don't know. I think it's one of those things where like they need a rational use case to sell you the scam. It's like the thing, and you could say that it's the same with AI. It's like here's the thing we're going to make a shitload of money off of. We need to pretend as though it's like above board and
Yeah, they need to legitimize it.
They need to
They
legitimize
need
it.
to
Yeah.
make it seem like it is a force for good, or at least for understanding, as opposed to what it actually is, which is just, again, gambling. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's like a commodities thing. It's like what is the big, do you remember it was Trading Places where they were like trying to get the orange juice report, like, you know, whether or not like the oranges. I'm the only one who remembers the actual plot of Trading Places outside of like they switch you guys and, you know, from rich to poor. But like, yeah, it's based on like whether or not the orange juice does well, and like they have like they're doing insider trading in that, and it's like a big scandal, and you know, like, but like that's basically how they've justified structurally what these are and why they're above board, is that it's like it's the same kind of thing. It's like trading on those things. It's just, but it's not. It's opinions. It's different. It's gambling.
Yeah, yeah. Pajamas in chat says athletes are getting threatened for not performing well / poorly enough for people to win their bets. Which, I mean, that goes back to even like, you know, classic sports betting. But yeah, with the more granular elements of. Wait, what's up?
There's been a bunch of sports betting scandals with that.
Okay,
there?
here's a prediction.
People
news betting scandals.
Games and stuff.
Someone at CNN gets really in trouble for this, I bet.
I mean, but couldn't you right before you drop a big investigation, like put it on the market and like, I don't, you know, I don't understand. Like,
well, and so like, you know, this is why a lot of people are arguing in favor of regulation. But you know, again, then there's only one value to any of this that actually exists, as you're saying, which is insider trading. And so you got to wonder if anybody who is on the government side of things is going to actually regulate it, because they stand to benefit from it not being regulated in this particular way. And we were just talking about it. People have already seemingly engaged with it on that front. There's the White House press briefing, but also just in general, you know, people in government love insider trading. It's their whole thing. Donald Trump does it all the fucking time. It's why that is not heavily regulated. There should be a law that simply states that if you are in office, you can't trade stocks. That's it. That should be a thing. If we wanted an actual fair and functioning society, we just do that. But of course, you know, the people in power don't want that. They want to make more money. That's what half of them got elected for in the first place.
Yeah, and also so they could end up switching to being consultants after the fact. You know what I mean?
Right. How do topics end up on these markets? Can anybody just put one up there?
Just submit something. Company? Yeah. You submit stuff. It is user driven.
Couldn't the three of us like just make one and bet on it and then win? Like, couldn't you be a little closed group and just generate money? Why would you not?
Well, I mean, but you are, so the source of the money is the people who are betting. So if it was only the three of us,
so it'd be our money.
Then one of, like, if me and Chris lost to you, you'd make money, but we wouldn't be generating money.
Right.
You would just be making money from us.
I do think it is very funny that it was Substack and Polymarket that, like, that's just like.
Actually, we'd be losing money because Polymarket takes a cut.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Anyway. Yeah. Yeah. It should be regulated. It's not going to be.
I was going to say maybe this is outside of the scope of it, but also right before the podcast, it was announced they're closing Blue Point, and that's probably outside of the remit of that, but that's fucking.
Well, actually, we have a mailbag question about that. So I think it's time to transition now over to Le Mailbag, as they say in the original France from which it originated. If you would like to contribute to the mailbag, ask us questions, you can do so by subscribing to our member tier. That will gain you access to our Discord. It's where the mailbag lives. And also, many great people hang out there too. And you can talk to them about video games or any number of other topics, which include crafts and hobbies, artwork, writing, cute animals, home economics, mental health, news, and politics. As if you need more of that in your life. Anyway, let's get on to the questions. All right. From Drew. What's your favorite physical gadget, interpret liberally, you've ever used in your lifetime?
Someone else go, because I need a second.
Yeah, I kind of figured.
I really like my rice cooker. I own this like $20 rice cooker from the dollar store, and it I bought it because the burners on my old stove were like too hot and they would burn rice, like they didn't get low enough. And it's just this great little robot that makes me perfect rice. And it's not one of the fancy ones that does all the things. But I'm
Yeah.
pretty fond of it. It's like every time rice just comes out good, I'm like, oh yeah, this is great.
Yeah,
Like,
rice cookers. If I
hooray.
ate more rice, I would definitely
Hmm.
invest more in them. The Kuko one, by the way, people sleep on Kuko, the Korean brand. But there's a reason Costco switched from Zojirushi to Kuko because they kind of better price point, and they also have induction in there. It's really nice. Um, I'm gonna say a really weird one because it's like people know all the stuff that I like. I mean, like I got a cardboard, like an electric box cutter the other day, and it's like a big like motorized pizza cutter, and it fucking bro, it's so sick. It was one of those Fantic ones. Fantic is like an I think they're like Xiaomi adjacent, like company that does like is trying to like do appliances. They're like doing everything and doing it at a really competitive rate, and so like Amazon, they're on Amazon and Ali, and I think now like Costco started stocking them, but when I want to say 12, which is saying something, I knew somebody who was like who worked in like 3D CAD design, and they had I've never been able to find it, but they had an articulating line, like it was like an arm with a pen on it that would have proper robotic feedback, and it was for sculpting things in 3D, and it was really cool, and it like was connected to like a compact, like this is how old it was, you know what I mean? And they brought it over because it was my aunt's husband, and I would just stay there and I would just like move this like articulating arm with a pen on it, and I would just create clay and then just feel it press into it, and like in I want to say like the early late 90s to early 2000s, and that's one of those things where like it's not about like I could probably create something like that. It would still kind of be impressive, like a 3D sculpting tool, but like at that time, that shit felt like the future. That shit felt cool. I was like, wow, I'm creating something, and I'm feeling like it as though I'm like sculpting and creating clay. I don't know what the fuck it was called, but it was really neat.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to go with a relatively boring answer. I'm not sure if it's my favorite that I've ever used in my lifetime, but it's what springs to mind right now. Um, I like my cat's auto feeder. I think that's a very handy little gadget. Just in terms of the fact that, I've mentioned this on the show before, I think, but she's diabetic now and she needs to be fed twice a day. And it makes it easier on my schedule and my life that there is a thing that can do one of those feedings, or both if absolutely necessary. But I feel like that, you got to feed your cat by hand at least once per day because otherwise they'll be like, what are you for? And I'll be like, I don't know, man. Like, what is our exchange here at this point? Um, yeah, so it's handy.
I used to feed my
Um,
cat one spoonful of he had food all the time. He was incredibly fat, and it was
hmm,
kind of confusing because he would have food all the time, but he wouldn't eat it all the time. Like he could self-regulate food. He was just
hmm,
monstrously sized, and I would give him a single spoonful of wet food every morning, and
uh,
he would go nuts. At like
eh,
4 in the morning, he'd start doing the like soft, shaky paw slap you in the
eh.
face thing, and it was so icky. And then like if somebody was staying over, he would do it to them, and I would have to like apologize to new people and be like, sorry, my cat is gonna like grope you hideously for like a lick of wet food, like that's all. And it was like so weird, but it bound us together.
Damn.
We needed that
I thought the
exchange.
biscuit was bad about it. She just like kind of walks around the apartment and makes little rasping noises because she
Yeah.
doesn't typically meow in the traditional sense. She can't really do it. Anyway, it's not because of the diabetes. She's always been this way.
Yeah.
All right, from Essie. What is the last game that you played solely because you wanted to digitally possess the event cosmetics slash loot slash recipes? Um, None ever.
I think I
I
like
don't
the
think that I've ever
game.
logged on
Yeah.
specifically for an event. Well, I guess there are times where I've during like because Warframe does like TennoCon every year, and it's like a in-person convention, but they also have an online component. And if you watch like their broadcast of it, or if you're in the game at the right time, then you get like they usually unlock a really nice Warframe every year, like one that's hard to find or one that like is super powerful. So I've done that, but that involves watching a Twitch stream for like 30 or 45 minutes. That barely requires me to even play.
I think
Probably
like
Fortnite. Back when I was covering Fortnite more, I would go to the events, I guess.
yeah, I think for me it's literally like um yeah, I don't like cuz most of the time it's just like I will go out of my way to do something sometimes if it's like oh, I do fuck with maybe it's like I went back and I played Lies of P because they had a Wo Long DLC. It was a really weird cross collaboration where they like added
Yeah.
Lies of P stuff to that and vice versa, and it was a really weird. I don't know.
Um, all right. From the Zoth Man, which is a fun name. How many owls would you have to see in a day before you thought something weird was going on? Hmm.
In New York,
I mean,
too.
yeah, I was going to say New York, probably more than zero, just
I
because
think
at the very
you.
least, I would immediately think, oh no, somebody's pet owl got away. And that kind of constitutes something weird because how many times have I met somebody with a pet owl? I'm going to say zero. So that all in the scope of my life as it has unfolded so far would be weird. So one.
There's a birds of prey sanctuary in New Jersey. I really want a friend to drive me to because sometimes I think about owls. When I lived in DC and the first time I went bike packing, there are barred owls, which make this very distinct kind of call. And this didn't occur to me because coming from New York, when do you ever think about owls? And I was
Right.
like camping and I heard this terrifying noise and then like another noise. And then the noise got closer and then another noise. And I, an adult, went, it's a monster and it's coming to eat me. And then I was like, dude, you know it isn't a monster. Like, calm down. But I think when you think of owls, you think of the hoo hoo, and this makes a very different noise. And I was like, well, I don't
But
know
can
what
you
else
do an
it is.
impression of the very different noise?
Yeah, see, someone in chat agrees with me. It's like a very upset, very weird
And what does it
sound, and I
sound
was
like?
just,
Well,
it's
you've got to do
like
an impression.
I don't think I can do, I can't do it. But you can look it up. I'll link it in the show notes. But it was like very scary, and I was like, but now like once I figured out what it was, I was like, oh, it's very lovely. But I really want to go to the birds of prey sanctuary and see the owls because they're cool as hell. Like it would be
Um,
cool to see them.
Yeah, I guess that would be my second thought. If I saw like a bunch of owls, I'd be like, oh no, like the zoo had a breakout or the birds of prey sanctuary or something like had a
Yeah,
breakout situation and now they're flying all about. And that's probably not great for them because they are fundamentally domesticated animals. And I doubt that they're going to do well out here.
I guess Flacco wasn't unusual it was a quality more than a quantity issue. Like a single owl
Yeah.
wasn't the problem, it was the type of owl that it was.
Mhm.
I think, by the way, before I forget, I believe it was by 3D Systems, the haptic pen. I think. So I'm sorry, this is just gonna bother me, but
Not an owl.
Yeah.
no. But I believe this is something that's just been there for a really long time. I don't know if it was them specifically, but I do think you'll see them and they're really expensive. They're like $16,000. Anyway,
Anyway, okay, let's see. From Mystic Eddie T. What are some lost media related to video games or just some rare slash out of print games you'd most like to encounter someday? So just, I guess if you're walking around shopping or something, are
There
able to
is
find.
a board game from the 1800s based on this guy S.A. Andre tried to sail to the North Pole on a hot air balloon and did not make it. But there's a board game based on it that I've always really wanted to find
Hmm.
because I think polar exploration is really cool. But I don't know like where it lives in the. It must be in like a museum if it's anywhere. I don't know. But it would be really cool to find it and play it.
most
I would frankly, without having to spend money on it, just like a copy of fucking No One Lives Forever, which you still can't get on any digital store.
I thought it was on GOG.
Oh, I have
I
another
do
one.
not believe so. Did
Huh?
that happen? Did it finally end up
Yeah,
somewhere?
dude, it's on. That's on Good Old Games.
Really?
Wait, hold on.
No.
Is it? No, I think people just want
No.
it there. I'm sorry. I
Yeah, I'd love to
apologize.
stay and vote to support it. It's got a
Cause
listing, but you
it's
can't actually buy it.
Because it's the Olympics. When I was a little kid on my little Game Gear, I had Lilyhammer Winter Olympics 94, which was like this Winter Olympics
Oh yeah, I know
game.
that
And
one.
I would like do anything to play it again. And I don't know how. And every so often I think of it and I'm just like, oh man, yes. Like I want it so
Oh
bad.
man. You know what
And
I want?
I don't know that there's a
I
way.
I want the Game Boy camera.
You
I
can
want one of
get that.
those.
You can
That
get
was
those.
a magical portion of my childhood. I'd love to once again take very grainy pictures and put Pikachu stickers on them.
I feel like there's got to be an aftermarket one of those now.
Surely.
Yeah, but this is just more like that you would want to encounter.
Oh, sure.
I'm sure
yeah,
that I can obtain
yeah.
these things. I'm just saying that, like, if I was walking down the street, somebody was selling stuff on the roadside, or they're doing like a yard sale or something, and I saw that, I'd be like, oh yeah, what do you want?
Someone's got a Game Boy camera modded with an EF zoom lens, like a fucking like a Canon one. That's crazy. It's like this long compared to the Game Boy. It's huge.
That's really funny. Do you have an aspirational find, Chris?
Nah, I just let it. I most of the stuff is like tapes I know I want. But games are like harder because like, oh, I do have one, which is I would love to for somebody to preserve Osman. Did people know what Osman is or Cannon Dancer? So Cannon Dancer is an arcade game. It was, I think, a lot of ex-Capcom people who worked on Strider. And it is one of the coolest looking games in history. Like straight up, it is like they re-released it, I think, on Switch, which is nice. But I want an FPGA core. Unfortunately, it is a really annoying board because usually with an FPGA, like if you want to do a Mister thing, you get a copy of the you dump the ROM, you get a copy of the board because they like CPS2 or whatever or one of these things, and then you make make it reproduce the hardware and then load the software. And the unfortunate thing is that it was like on one of those systems that had like 20 games on it. It was like a really, really rare, annoying. So I want someone to take one of those compatible boards and then just make a Mr. Core for it. And I've thought about going out of my way to buy one and then just like donating it to like Jotego or one of those people who like works on this shit for a living. Whose Patreon I support because he's working on CPS3 and I want to play Third Strike on my TV. But it is Neo Saudi Arabia. It's like fucking Strider. It is the coolest looking fucking game in history. You're like, how the fuck did that get made? Because it's like beautiful, bright, rainbow colored sprites, like a cybernetic Middle East. It's just shit you never see combined together in this like beautiful thing. And it uses a lot of transparency, which is actually the difficult thing to get correct on emulation because it's like because interlacing is hard to simulate that way. You know what I mean? And so, man, Cannon Dancer is so good. Definitely, if you have never played Cannon Dancer, play the limited game run games one. You
know. All right, from New Jersey then. Sony closed Bluepoint today. But Sony executives should have been fired or have their salary docked instead of laying off 70 innocent employees. So yeah, who are we taking in? I don't know. All of them?
I head falls off online. I kind of agree with here, which is that like, I don't know, like Bluepoint's fascinating because they were like really, really technically good at what they did. And they were doing something really that felt prestige, you know what I mean? Like the remakes they made felt like boutique. I know a lot of people, myself included, who disliked a lot of the choices they made with Demon's Souls and even Shadow of the Colossus, but they were like technically very, very good at what they did. And there was a lot of love in those games and they were very talented. And I think the reality is they're not paying Austin salaries for that. They don't have to. They've seen the fucking... They're just going to go to the people who made, like, the Metal Gear Solid remake in Singapore. Like, this is not only just about, like, you know, it's a reliable thing. We are going to shop this down to the lowest, whoever we can pay the least. You know what I mean? You're seeing just a realignment of capital, and I agree. That's basically it. They saw it. They said, they're like, why are we paying for real salaries for this stuff? And also there was the, live service... They were working on a live service game.
And it got canceled. And so they got
canceled.
You know, I saw that technically they haven't released anything in like 5 years. But also, whose fault is that? Who canceled that game? Like,
also, everyone assumed they would do Bloodborne. You know what I mean? Which I would have probably had problems with, but it's a good idea because you can't fucking play Bloodborne correctly on that goddamn system, which is why people have gotten really good at emulating the PS4, by the way. Specifically for that. Don't tell anybody. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like, what? Like, I guess it feels like like that was fucking PS5 has no games. You know what I mean? Like in lieu of not having games, you would have guys remake your old games, and now they don't want to even pay people to properly remake their old games. They want to like lowest common denominator that so they can do like another Fortnite or something like that, which they're never going to get. They're not going to get this. They might get a Helldivers here and there, but they're not going to get like something of that level. And they're doing it
No,
to
of course
just,
not.
you know, they're just like, they're cutting costs. I don't know. I find it annoying. And I think it's naked, like you can see the naked logic in it. And it's,
Yeah. But you can
it
also,
sucks.
yeah. I mean, back to the point made in the question, though. Yeah, executives' head should definitely roll for this because, again, what they had Bluepoint doing instead of what it's good at, or at least what it's kind of made its name on, was working on a live service game, which Sony tried to go all in on across many different studios, and the effects have been disastrous. They've closed numerous studios that were working on live service games, and or that they bought basically in the past like half decade. By all measures, this bet that they placed did not pay off, and instead fucking wrecked a bunch of different studios and left tons of people jobless.
Yeah, like
Um,
ultimately that is where the blame lies. Is like
yeah,
you can't even get the remake guys to remake something. You have to get them to do
right,
something that they are
right. That they
explicitly is outside of
don't.
their wheelhouse.
Oh, yeah. Which like why? Because
Why?
remakes and remasters are super popular right now.
Yeah.
Just put them on that.
Yeah, but again, you know, just contract work out of the film. It's this is literally all it is.
Yeah,
It's just they're just gonna go to whoever you know, whoever they can. You know what I mean? They're
yeah.
gonna go to they're gonna go to Virtuous. You know what I mean? They're gonna go to like who you know like who handles these things now and
Mhm.
for a lower price.
Um, oh, let's see. Next question is from Mish, but it's pretty similar to the one we answered earlier about kind of gadgets. So I'm going to skip it. Apologies. Okay, from Rock Reaper. What was/is your favorite absurd future tech from media you wish we had? For example, flying cars from the Jetsons or the hoverboard from Back to the Future.
Um,
Um,
you can
I want the gravity glove from Half-Life Alyx.
go.
Um, the ability to just see a thing across the room and yank it to you and catch it in your hand. After I played that game, the motion and the
Mm-hmm.
belief that I could do it stayed lodged in my brain for like 2 months. Every once in a while, I'd be at the grocery store, I'd see something high up and think, "Oh, I can just yank it down." No, wait, I can't. That's not real. I could only do that in the video game. But man, if something like that existed, God, everything would just be so much better. Life would be better. Except for that you'd often have like probably cross yanking happening where two people
Mm-hmm.
are trying to yank objects and they run into each other in the air. But I'm sure that people would find ways to get around it. Etiquette signals that they're going to yank something
You
before the
don't
other
want to
person
do it.
does.
You don't want to go, you know, be out in public, and you don't want to be cross yanking with another man. You know, that's
I mean,
how are you as a male cross
I,
yanking with
I'm
another man?
I'm very open minded and progressive, so
Yeah, that's
actually I'd
fine.
be
That's fine.
fine cross
Yeah, that's
yanking with
fine.
another
Just
man.
not
Thank
in
you very much.
public. Just not in public. I don't care what
No,
you
no
do.
cross yanking at
I just
Pride.
don't want to see it in my. No, I'm kidding.
No cross yanking at Pride.
As fucking Riley has the gay flag, the pride, trans pride flag. I have a couple. One, my favorite thing is that holograms, despite being like fucking impossible, are still used as shorthand for "it's the future" in movies. Like, I mean, like holography is complicated, but like the kind of like freestanding like Obi-Wan, help me Obi-Wan Kenobi ones are fake. That's fake. That's fucking bullshit. You need a medium to like. You need something to do that, and that's not. It's hard, and so the kind of yada yada yadaing, it's like kind of in the flying cars territory or anti-gravity, where it's like this means the future, but I would love one because it would make. But then again, it would get really annoying because I've seen people do LED kiosks in like Queens. Like if you go down Jackson in like Jackson Heights into like Astoria, there's like a whole stretch of like these really weird triangular kiosks that are just like weird rotating 3D sandwiches that are like feel very like AliExpress Blade Runner. Um, I don't know. I also somebody I think Andrew Elmore fucking posted the phone from Final Fantasy 13 that's just like two rods in a U shape that snap like this. So it's like
Mhm.
a rod connected like that So it looks like two tubes that like snap into a U and then you unfold. Look up the like Lightning's phone from Final Fantasy. It's like sick looking, and that's the kind of I don't when I think of like technology from the past, I think of what we used to think technology could be shaped like, and I mean that's the I wrote about that little e-reader. That's what the excitement of this new simpler tech is like. We could just do that. we could
Mhm.
make we could make the clamshell e-reader that probably sucks to read from It Follows. That everybody I know who's seen that movie is like, yo, where can I get the clamshell e-reader from It Follows?
Riley, you got
Trying
one?
to think of one. High speed rail seemed like a dream of the past.
I
Yeah.
found out that China is having one that goes to like Lhasa, and it's like they're doing high speed rail at like 8,000 feet in the air for most of the fucking like incredible elevation because it has to go to like to Lhasa, and it's like big. They're just cutting through the mountains, and I'm like, that's so fucking sick that you're doing high speed rail and you like need oxygen to be in the train. like that's
Damn,
cool. Fuck, I
that
want
is
that for
really
me.
cool.
So
China's problematic in many ways, but
Man,
damn, that's fucking sick.
I mean, it's also like that's actual sci-fi shit. You know, again, AI is
yeah,
just like an illusion predicated on a bunch of bullshit. That's like actually sci-fi. That's like, you know, you'd read about it in a book and be like, cool. That's a neat idea. Whoever came up with it has a good imagination.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, all right, let's see. Metroid. Is there a difference between how you describe slash quote unquote sell a game in an article versus how you talk about it to your friends? And how hard do you try to avoid explaining games using phrases along the lines of, it's like X, but Y? Or it's a cross between X and Y? Um, to answer the latter question first, yeah, try very hard to avoid those types of phrases. Not just talking to friends, but in general. I don't think that's useful. There was a time when that was like every indie game headline we wrote at Kotaku. And it's like, there's a limit to how far that can go because you're,
Like
you know, necessarily speaking to the built-in audiences of those two games. And also, I just like I don't think that it leads to interesting writing. So you're describing things that have already been described before by other people, and you're not really conveying your own experience with that thing. And I think
okay.
that the most effective way to sell anyone on a game is to talk about a really cool experience you had with it, both in terms of like describing the systems that underpin it, and also you just get more animated when you're talking about a cool experience you had with a game or a really interesting run or a big moment or whatever. That sells people better in person than any amount of like, all right, so the game includes, you know, features X, Y, and Z. It's this genre and that genre. It's kind of like this one, but also like that one. Like people's eyes glaze over when you do that shit.
I
You
will
got to give them a
say,
story.
counterpoint, Arc System announcing today that it's doing Papers, Please, but with AI.
Oh, great.
or it's they used like they had a disclosure where they said that they're touching up the images with AI in the newspaper parts, and I think they got yelled at for that. But also Arxis doing Papers, Please, but an alien, whatever. That's I'm sorry to do the thing you just annoyingly said for it,
Yeah,
but I don't know how else to describe something that is exactly like Papers, Please.
yeah. Um, oh yeah, from Jack. What would happen to Night City if the RAM prices skyrocketed?
oh no.
They probably do like every day. There's probably like this is probably a very huge component to this, and it usually probably leads to you like mugging strangers that are like being tricked with sex work and then doing some kind of like vaguely, you know, first let's just say pilot of the Venture Brothers style stealing the RAM from their brain heist and then selling it on a black market.
There's that
Yeah.
cult in the game that forces people to get implants, which never made any sense to me on like a fiscal level. So I guess that would like end. I guess that would solve that one side quest where
Yeah,
you got to
or
help
they
the
get more
guy.
desperate to
Yeah.
obtain RAM and things of that nature. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but no, I agree with Chris. I think that it was. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next Cyberpunk this is like an
Yeah.
issue, or like they do an analog, right? They're not literally like, oh, there's a RAM crisis in our world too. But you know,
I love the idea that it's just normal people. Like it got too expensive, so nobody has this shit anymore. So it's just
yeah,
like it's just The Sims or something. It's
yeah, the
just
world is actually
regular
better. There's no more
everyday life.
cyberpsychosis.
Yeah.
Everyone has normal limbs.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. All right. From Thuggy McBattle. That's a fun name. With games like Jet Set Radio and Crazy Taxi getting reboots by Sega at some point in the future, what Dreamcast titles would you like to see pulled into the current era? I have a list. I'm going to bring it up. It reads
What?
Power Stone, Power
Mm-hmm.
Stone, Power
Yes,
Stone,
yes,
Power
yes.
Stone,
Agreed.
Power Stone, and
Mm-hmm.
Power Stone.
You're correct.
Yeah.
Go off, King, and also Power Stone 2 a little bit.
Yes.
You miss Power Stone 2, but otherwise, perfect list. You know,
Yeah.
Power Stone fucking rips.
I was getting to it. I was getting
No,
to it.
there's like Power Stone is like so fascinating because you go back and you play it and you're like, why aren't there more games shaped like this? This sort of like thing that like it feels like Smash Brothers just kind of like dominates.
I was gonna say Smash like
subgenre.
won the battle for like mind share.
But like
Yeah.
there, you
Yeah.
could do like 4-player party style fighting games more, and
Yeah.
like with different. Like every time somebody tries to rip it off, they just do Smash, but with like Bugs
And here's
Bunny.
the thing, you can do it even now. A while back I like ran into somebody at a bar who was like emulating stuff on his Steam Deck, and he had Power Stone. We played Power Stone and ruled.
The
He had a bar. It's like
the
fuck
question
yeah,
asker,
this is what
they
life should
say-
be.
they say in the comments that there's a not a remake, but they did bring Power Stone back in the Capcom collections.
That's
So you can
Yeah,
play
that's-
them.
this is different.
And we need a new Power Stone.
We need more
Power Stone reimagined for a broken, terrible world.
Crazy Taxi. I do.
Yeah, Crazy Taxi and Jet Set are, I think, confirmed to be coming back in some capacity.
Yeah, I don't believe it. You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
believe because they've been saying that shit for a while. And to be perfectly frank, when I physically see play it, then I will believe it. But like,
Mhm.
you know, a lot of stuff's coming back. I don't know. Panzer Dragoon. I think.
Yeah,
You
that'd
know
be
what's
sick.
really fascinating? I was having the thought the other day that like that shape of like on rails lock on shooter is responsible for some of the most like visually striking art possible, like all of Nier and like
Mhm.
Drakengard and like Rez and then Panzer Dragoon. And it's just like, wow, what a weirdly specific genre to be so influential. It's just
Yeah.
like the 3D rail shooter.
Yeah, well, I guess like, given that you are moving through space on rails in that particular way, there's a lot of room to insert like visually striking kind of vistas.
We're bringing
Um,
Ikaruga back.
All right. From PJ stands for Poetic Justice. Question for Riley. Since I know you're specific about your definition of cults, what do you think about people describing the AI industry as cult-like?
It drives me crazy because
Sorry.
I think that we end up in the same place that we end up with a lot of secular things that we compare to religion, where I think that it is like the wrong. And there have been so many articles that calling it a religion and yeah, as a religion, I'm just like, blah, like why? Define your terms, my God. Like what is the exact level at which something rises above the secular? Yeah, I think it does a disservice to cults because I also don't think it's like it's not a mystery why they're into it, right? Like 3 rich guys stand to make some money and other people also want to make some money or not have their jobs become irrelevant, right? I don't know that it's a belief system, though I think some of them really do. These questions about are they creating life or whatever, I think some of them really do believe that kind of thing, or they believe they're gonna usher in the apocalypse or whatever. But I don't think that their interest in it stems from like a space that's different than just the secular desire to make some money, right?
I will say, to me personally, I think a lot of the problem with this is just California. Because
there's a whole book
California
about that. Which I haven't read.
it's good if I remember correctly. But like California is cult coded by default.
Yeah, right.
And I think because so much of cult behavior just bled into the soil and the water, it like you'll see something that is like downwind spiritually of and not just spiritually, but also like has a lineage in cult adjacent things. And you'll be like, oh, okay, that's a cult. And it's like, no, but it's related to cult stuff. It has its antecedent in that, but it doesn't necessarily fit the proper like strict definition of it.
Yeah, right. I think at the very basic definition, you could quit OpenAI and move to Iowa, and OpenAI won't stop you, right? So like
AI-owa. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, like like it doesn't meet the definition of a cult that is useful for regular humans to be aware of and avoid cults, right? But if the definition is more of the sort of adherence and the passion, like I think it does a disservice to like religion and religious feeling to compare it to it personally.
I do think higher of cults. I think
Because
because they have to buy shoes.
Oh, definitely.
They have to buy Nike Cortezes for everybody.
Yeah, right,
And then
like-
they have to make punch. They
Yeah,
have
you're
to
at least
release a
getting something.
VHS. I'm mainly just thinking of having skate. I'm sorry.
Which
That's
was
fine.
actually hugely. They ran a website development company. That's where they got a bunch of their money. They were super early adopters of like the web.
Yeah.
movement.
Actually, do you have you ever read this is a side note The Dreams Our Stuff Is Made Of by Thomas Dish?
No.
I think you'd get a lot out of it because it's sort of like he's the catty gay of the science of that wave of science fiction. Like he knew where the bodies were buried. He wrote The Brave Little Toaster. He wrote a bunch of stuff about being gay, and you know, he had a partner who was HIV positive who passed, and like that, you know, that's a very tragic end to his life. But he's in like a Philip K. Dick documentary for Arena that's really good, and where he's just like talking mad shit about he's being such a bitch about Philip K. Dick. But the funny thing about it is, he has a book about that's sort of like neutral about like science fiction, because up until that point I think a lot of people had done a lot of academic writing about science fiction in the context of like it's always good, it's always like predictive, and he's like, no, this is how you get cults sometimes, like this is how you get Om Shinryoku, and like how Om existed, like the cult of Om in Japan that did the sarin gas attack existed by like advertising the back of comic books and shit, you know, like they were like advertising to nerds because they're like, we need somebody who can make a thermonuclear device and who can make sarin gas. And who do we get? Well, we get people who are otakus, and like he's very like, yes, it can do good things, it can also lead to like profound evil. And I think the connection between cults and science fiction, and the connection between technological, like doomsday technology, and sort of like how science fiction can be used to create something that is very explicitly a cult is murky sometimes. But I do agree with your I don't know.
Hey, well, on that note, I think it is about time for us to wrap up. If you like what you heard today, you can subscribe over at the website, which is aftermath.site. Really appreciate it. This has been Aftermath Hours. It is our weekly show. We record every Thursday live on twitch.tv at 4 p.m. Eastern. And we'll be back next week to do it again. But until then, have a good one.
Bye-bye.